Well. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Walk, except indoors again. Unfortunately, today, as many of you know, I in the past have braved many, many an interesting weather phenomenon to bring you the Good Morning Walk in the past. However, today. Not only has there been a downpouring of snow during the night, it is windy, it is sleeting, it is raining, it is still coming down with snow. So I thought, nope, I'm pulling. I waited for as long as I could to see if shall we say the things would change in the weather pattern today, but unfortunately they didn't. This is why we're starting a lot later than we normally would do today. Like I say, I have to get sort of things sort of set up and queued up for you when we do things like this. So sorry for the late delay today, but like I say, hopefully we're going to have some good fun today, as we always do on a good morning, going over some of the hilarity that we have seen, of course, during the week. And of course, I fully expect to tell you, just as the video implies, how Doctor Who turned me to a life of crime. But as always, yes, good morning to you, one and all. So we've got Cathology, good morning to you. Loki's Children, good morning from Northumberland. Good morning to you. Tudis Cantwell, good morning. Ben Ridings, good morning to you. Cathonic, good morning to you. And good morning to everyone else who's joining us today. Like I say, the weather today was absolutely abysmal, to be honest. And trust me, as much as I do love to get out there and do the good morning walk with you today. Yeah, not today. But as you know, I have done. Oh, there we go. I've done things far. I've done walks and a lot different today. Like I say, just today's weather was a bit. Yeah. Like I say, I've pulled it out today. I've pulled it out today. But yes, Eddie, good morning to you. Tom Nielsen, good morning to you at last. Yes, indeed, at last. Like I say, weather delays and bad weather today have unfortunately conspired for us to have a good morning walk indoors. But feel free to, if I do this, does it make it feel like I'm, feel like a good morning run? I should change my background from a Yorkshire rose to like a street scene. You can see me streaking through the streets of Barnsley this morning. But yes, Tudis, are you a Cyberman criminal? PHM? Well, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that later on. But oh my word, this is indeed ridiculousness. But I'll tell you what. That was certainly the height, and we're going to get into, I think, Nadine Dorries, who, to be honest, as most of you know, Maximilian Robespierre does his most stupid MP of the week, and I'll tell you what, Nadine Dorries certainly was in the runnings. She was certainly going to get the gold medal. Of course, Nick Fletcher literally came in later in the week and stole the gold medal right from under her. But of course, Crowban, good morning to you. Tom, again, good morning to you. Prinny Bird, good morning to you. Pedalts, good morning to you. Crowban, where's the Dunkirk spirit? Not in this weather. I'll tell you what, not in this weather today, because it's not only has a massive blanket of snow, which again I'd have no problem going out in. Like I say, I was prepared for that, but when it started like raining and sleeting together, no, I called it a day after that. Alan Saxton, good morning to you. FSM the dog, All the trains are cancelled for me. Yes, as always, of course, when we have the slightest bit of snow, the UK goes into absolute lockdown. Like I say, the fishermen are French fishermen today are meant to be having like their big protest, but I think the weather in the UK is probably conspired against them, because normally, of course, this traffic chaos would maybe cause a backlog into sort of the UK as well, but most of the most of the travel chaos today is not going to be caused by their by their protesting, of course, stopping the shipping in Calais, but it's going to be caused by literally a couple of inches of snow. So that's how things go. Now 100. Good morning from Rotherham. Well, good morning to you, my South Yorkshire friend. And like I say, let's jump in today to explain Nadine Dorris's silver medal for probably one of the most stupid comments of all time. But first of all, for those of you who don't know who Nadine Dorris is, just a couple of months ago, we had the big Boris cabinet reshuffle. And essentially, Nadine Dorris was shuffled into the cabinet to become the new culture secretary. And her role and remit as culture secretary is basically to promote UK culture, to make things, are running smoothly in the culture secretary. Let's face it, it's an incredibly easy job, because you literally have nothing to do except when a good film comes out, like the new James Bond film comes out, or maybe when the BBC does something good, or maybe sometimes when Channel 4 does something good and you want to take credit for it. That's essentially what you do. The culture secretary job is probably the most easiest of all of cabinet positions. You literally have to turn up to like museum day openings or something like that and then consider it job done. That's how easy the culture secretary job really is. However, of course, like any shall we say, good, shall we say, ministerial position, you of course have to appear before select committees to essentially say, this is what I'm doing, this is this is how good job I'm doing, and answer certain questions and things like that. But of course, since Boris Johnson came in 2019, the order of the day for not only for them, but indeed, hang on, I've got my breakfast here. This is how late I'm doing it. got my good bowl of porridge here with me, so I'll be tucking into that in a bit before it gets cold. But yes, where was I? Yes, they've had an axe to grind against Channel 4 since day one. Have the government, especially Boris Johnson's government, in this, because Channel 4 has been the one who has been, shall we say, embarrassing them the most. That has been the person who has been embarrassing them the most over the past couple of years. They can manage to obviously kowtow the BBC every so often, and sort of the BBC does tend to fall in line every so often. Of course, this leads to the constant fighting of, the BBC's too left wing, the BBC's too right wing, and I tweet to everyone, I say, the BBC is doing a fine job, just let the BBC be. But of course, this has caused annoyance, of course, from the government, because they don't control Channel 4. They do not control Channel 4 in a way that they wish they could. And you get to see this today, because they have been threatening to pull Channel 4's license, because the British government do own, I think, a very small part, or at least controlling interest in Channel 4, and they've been threatening to ditch that and review their license. we're going to, come down hard on you. Again, like I say, it's a threat because Channel 4, especially Channel 4 News, have been doing good reporting. So, of course, in this select committee today, Nadine Dorries again repeated her threats to, again, go against Channel 4 and all their evils. But in a massive, well, shall we say, own goal, she forgets who actually owns Channel 4. Needless to say, it's very, very interesting. Hold on just a second. I'm just going to have to indulge me eating some porridge. Yes. So here we go for the, hopefully this will make it, oh no, that's picture in picture. There we go, so you can see the full thing. Let me know if you can hear this. Hang on.
I think it's right that a public service broadcaster in the rapidly changing digital environment that we're in at the moment, I think the future and the longevity of that broadcaster should be brought into question and should be, particularly when it's a receipt of taxpayers' money, it is our responsibility to evaluate whether taxpayers are receiving value for money and whether that model is sustainable in the future. I think it's absolutely right and proper that we should do so. And that is the process we're going through.
So hopefully, did you hear that? I hope you did. Let me just know, because hopefully I remember to turn on the sound for the sound coming through. Let me know if you heard that, because obviously she said something incredibly stupid there there, and I want to see how many people pick up on what she said. It was a bit echoey. I'm just going to wolf down my porridge. Tom, you heard it, but it made no sense. The big giveaway in that she didn't know what she was talking about, by the way, for those of you who heard it, she clearly said that Channel 4 was in receipt of taxpayer money. And like I say, this gets into some of the old, cancel end the license fee for the BBC, which is what this ties into in a bit. But we'll get into that once we've gone over this clip. So Nadine Dorries here has just said something incredibly stupid to a bunch of select committee members, saying that Channel 4 is publicly owned. Channel 4 is not publicly owned. All its revenue is garnered from commercial interests. So predominantly, it's advertising. The second one comes, I think, from selling media associated with Channel 4. You are right, Carol. She does sound like she spent a lot of time talking about it. And like I say, the shocking thing is here is she is saying it with such confidence about this. So I generally think she actually thinks that is the case, that she deserves to be judge, jury, and executioner to see if Channel 4 see if Channel 4 gets to survive, because apparently it's in receipt of taxpayer money, which again is false. So think about that for a second. Nadine Dorries has accidentally just said she wants to axe. She wants to axe a national broadcaster here in the UK. That is what she's just admitted to. Because she pretty much said, well, its future should be in doubt, you know. We are in a constantly changing media landscape. It should be checked. It should be and to be honest, I think Channel 4 had a field day on this, and rightly so. Especially the news. Daily Blaze, good morning to you. Good morning to you all. Good morning to you all joining us. Like I say, sorry for the, shall we say, indoor good morning walk this morning. Like I say, the weather has truly conspired against against us today. But yes, let's find out with the rest of this encounter, see how this turned out, because her response is, well, fantastic.
So I would argue that to say that just because Channel 4 has been established as a public service broadcaster, and just because it's in receipt of public money, we should never kind of audit the future of Channel 4, and we should never evaluate how Channel 4 looks in the future and whether or not it's a sustainable and viable model. It's quite right.
All that, what she just said, is completely false. Well and truly 100% completely false. I cannot tell you just how wrong what she's just said was there. Again, continuing what we said earlier about how wrong she was in the beginning, but she's saying it with such confidence. She's saying this as if, you know, it's 100% true and accurate. The stupidity that she's showing here is off the charts, to be honest. But what's scary here is, and we'll get into this in a bit. Most of you, or you may or not know, every so often on Twitter, there is a cancel the license fee or boycott the BBC. Now, believe it or not, these two hashtags are part of the same campaign. They are part of the same campaign, but their objective is essentially the same, set up by, again, right-wing astroturfed groups whose main objective is to try and push the BBC into becoming a private corporation so that it can then be bought by private interests. Those private interests can then control the BBC, who would then, by the way, own an incredibly influential part of British media and British public life. Like, you've seen how you know, the Sun, not the Sun, the Daily Mail is run. And that is run explicitly as a right-wing, you know, propaganda talking point machine of the, you know, essentially of the Conservative Party. The aim again is to do that to the BBC. And what these campaigns are doing, they are part and parcel of the same group. Just because one is saying, making things about, oh, we should cancel the license fee, coming from, again, a very lefty talking point, while the other one is boycott the BBC, which again is coming from the right wing, their objectives are the same. They are spread out by the same group, by the same people who want to con people into essentially trying to end the BBC license fee. That is what they are doing. And if you in this speech here replaced Channel 4 with BBC, what she is again threatening to do to Channel 4 would be the exact same thing she's threatening to do to the BBC. It creates a very, very, very scary media environment where the government are desperate to try and, shall we say, rein in the media from questioning them and, talking things about that. Again, people again bring up in the chat about this being, being very authoritarian. Control of the media. Windy Woodpecker makes a good point as well. 100% control of the media is the aim of the government. Yeah. And this is incredibly deadly. And the thing is, a lot of people fall for it. And I always say, if you are on the left, you should absolutely treasure the BBC, because the BBC tries its utmost to get across being really balanced. And now sometimes, obviously, it doesn't work 100%. And I'll agree, there are some times where you've got things like Question Time, but Question Time isn't made by the BBC anymore. People think it is, but it's not anymore. It's actually run and set up and was bought by a right winger who now owns Question Time and has produced Question Time and has been responsible for getting on the guests. Hence why Nigel Farage appeared so much on Question Time, back in the day. That's just what happens. And again, that was again just one of the things that happened at the time. But the BBC do very much try to have a central line, and the claims that the BBC is too left wing obviously comes from the right, and the BBC is too right wing comes from the left. If anything, you should treasure the fact that we have a government-owned broadcaster that is very much free from the control of proper government control. Like, Nadine Dorries is the closest it actually comes to control, and even then she doesn't have, she's not the evil puppet master pulling the strings, making the BBC secretly more right wing on this. So that's essentially where really this all comes from. And to be honest, it's really worrying. Oh, Donkey, here you go. Bowler Hat Man. From the outside view, the BBC is still heralded. Yes, you are exactly right. A lot of people don't understand that the BBC outside the UK is viewed as like a really good gold model standard for not only programming but trustworthiness. So it's not just that, like, the right wing want to take over the BBC and change it into almost a video version of the Daily Mail. It's that they want that trust and influence that the BBC also has, and we can't forget that. Because, as again, you make the good point here. Again, the BBC is still heralded. It's not bad for news coverage for everywhere in the world except the UK, but you can still see the pendulum swing back. Yeah. So it does have that fantastic reputation worldwide about it, and its reporting, its coverage, the programming that it does. So it is seen as quite a good gold standard. So it's very well worth protecting. And remember, the people who are trying to convince you that the BBC is evil, that it is bad, that it has too much left-wing bias, too much right-wing bias, is an astroturfed right-wing group called Cancel the BBC. You see them all the time on Twitter complaining about the BBC, that the license fee should be ended, etc., etc. These people should be fought against and fought back against, because the BBC is a valuable institution to this country and it deserves to be protected. So it does indeed need protecting, and you know, when you see things like these, just ignore them. You know, there are actually I can't remember what the opposite campaign is now. I think it's like Protect the BBC or Support the Beeb or something like that. You know, go look on their webpage. They very often tweet about them and say, you know, the BBC is good, here's why it is good, etc., etc. So that's Nadine Dorries on her very, very dangerous stuff. That's why she's saying this stuff. It plays into the whole government wants to essentially jettison and sell off the BBC, because again, the BBC is very important and influential. So, and again, people forget the world's first online streaming service was iPlayer. People forget that. People forget that the BBC is very often at the forefront in a lot of media technology, media improvements, all kinds of stuff. You know, they pioneered the virtual studio at the BBC. So it is responsible for a lot of media improvements as well. So again, just something obviously worth bearing in mind when we talk about this. But again, let's get back into sort of Nadine Dorries, because he's going to come, shall we say, the smackdown, and then you're going to get to the response.
Right, that the government should do that.
But Channel 4 is not like the BBC. It's not in receipt of license fee money. It makes its money from commercial operations.
And so, although it's, yeah, but
I mean, there are a range of views. Obviously, Channel 4 has taken a particular position on the future.
There you have it. There you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Nadine Dorries got absolutely got slammed. Absolutely got slammed there. So, yeah, as you can see, that would have been easily the most well, stupid comment of the week. However, of course, it gets worse, because I regret to inform you, you know, because there's now a female Doctor Who, I have to turn towards a life of crime. I have to turn towards a life of crime. I'm going to don my Cybermen cardboard box outfit and go around committing all sorts of time-related crimes. I make my evil supervillain announcement to the country that today, upon the stroke of Big Ben, I will steal the clock. I'm going to steal the entire clock of Big Ben today at the stroke of noon, and my Cybermen army will come down and take the clock, and there is not a thing the UK government can do to stop me. Yes, there you go. It's my supervillain announcement, because again, according to Nick Fletcher, again, as we'll get into in a bit, because there is a female Doctor Who, yes, I am now forced to carry out time-related crimes. Anyway, I'm just going to finish off my breakfast, so excuse me. Bit of AMSR for you, that. So, to stop sharing for a bit. Screen, here we go. Share audio. So here we go. So first, a bit of context where this quote comes from. This is where it comes from. Retrofly, I've read that Moffat is coming back to Doctor Who, at least something positive. I haven't watched, honestly, I haven't watched Doctor Who for years. I'm just trying to remember. I'm just trying to remember, like, what was like the last episode I can remember of watching Doctor Who. And I think it was like the end of like the Tennant period, but the start of like the Matt Smith era. And I sort of stopped watching it around the beginning of the Matt Smith era, mostly because I just lost interest. Really, you know, and like I say, I just haven't watched it. I just haven't watched Doctor Who in ages. I just don't know what's going on in the storylines. I know it's still quite obviously like a popular thing, which is, again, you know, good for them for having, you know, a long running, you know, TV program, especially something like Doctor Who. You know, good on them for the showrunners and, you know, everyone who's been involved in it. You know, fantastic work. Again, prime example of why we need to keep the BBC, because they can. All they need to do now is bring back Blake 7. Because, oh my word, I've been watching like not the actual proper episodes, but I've been watching like can't remember what the channel name's called now, but they do like sci-fi reviews. I'll have to try and remember them now. FS Debris, that's it. FS Debris. He does like sci-fi reviews, very much on the Star Trek stuff. Very good, very good. If you know SF Debris, go watch him. Very, very good. So, Daleks conquered the stairs. Do you not know that the modern Daleks can now fly? So all this thing of like the sci-fi and like Blake 7. I wish they'd bring Blake 7 back, because honestly, after they killed, I think, Blake in the series, shockingly enough, that's when the series became really good. And then it has one of the most depressing endings of all time. Spoiler warning, by the way, for a show that was airing back in the 60s. So, you know, this might have been spoiled quite a long time ago. Essentially, the Federation the bad guys win. They literally come down into like the final scene, and they literally come in and they just start, shooting all of the characters that all the characters that we're meant to be rooting for and winning, and they finish it and they win. The Federation win. They wiped out the Resistance, and you're like, oh, oh, that's a bold ending. And if you know anything about nerd culture recently, you know that Kevin Smith got a massive ton of flack for killing off He-Man and Skeletor just recently. So let's go into context of sort of where this came from, because the whole thing about oh, it's a female Doctor Who cares, really? Who cares? In the grand scheme of things, who cares? He's meant to be like an alien who, by the way, in canon, has mentioned before he has been a woman before. So this shouldn't be new to a lot of people. But this was obviously a big thing at the time, obviously, when it happened. Who is it now? I want to say it's Jodie Whittaker or Jodie Foster. I genuinely can't remember. This is how much I care about Doctor Who these days. Generally can't remember who it was. Who was the thing? That's how Star Wars should have ended. Making the Doctor the timeless child was the biggest BS. I have no idea what that means. Like I say, I haven't watched Doctor Who for years. You thought Craig Charles would have been a great Doctor. Yeah, Jodie. I'm guessing I've got that wrong then. Jodie Foster for the next Doctor. Shut up and take my license fee. But anyway, it's I think it's Jodie something. Again, I can see her face. I just can't remember her name. And I know I have like the internet like sat straight in front of me that I could look it up on, but I can't be bothered. Loki's children, you thought Craig Charles within Red Dwarf. Well, yeah, Craig Charles would have been an amazing Doctor Who. Jodie Whittaker, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anders. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So yeah, I knew one of you would correct me sooner or later, but yeah, this is really where this comes from. It's been a bizarre culture war phenomenon very recent. Whenever like what would be quote a traditional male character becomes female, there's always a, shall we say, massive outcry from the very, very, shall we say, toxic places of the internet. To which my response has always been, who cares? If they make James Bond a woman, who cares? It's not the end of the world. You just get to tell different stories and new stories with these new characters, which is what I want from my media. I want new stories. I can't get it, unfortunately, but I was a big fan of the Star Wars Legacy comics created by Dark Horse. And what that was I think it was like 600 years after sort of the Battle of Endor is where I think they put it. So it's a completely new era for Star Wars, completely new characters. you have a great descendant of the Skywalkers named Cade Skywalker, and there's a whole sort of there's a new Sith Order in the galaxy that makes far more sense. The new Sith Lord has basically done away with like the rule of two and created the idea of the one Sith. Again, getting very, very nerdy. I'm sorry, but here we are. Sometimes I go on these tangents. And I loved that series because it was telling again a new stories that we hadn't heard before, especially in the Star Wars universe at the time. And a lot of people were really, really annoyed, the fact that they had made this, this great descendant of what was meant to be these great heroes into like this at the time made him sort of a very not a heroic figure to start with. It was him finding his heroics and having to live up to his legacy in a way. And it was a good story. Very good, by the way. You can get them still today. Again, obviously, it has been washed away, of course, in the great Disney purchase, and now resides in the, I think they call it the Legacy brand or whatever it is. They call them, but you can still get them. They are very good. Definitely, highly recommend them. But this is where these comments come from, and this was, of course, on International Men's Day that Nick Fletcher decided to make these, shall we say, very, very bizarre problems. Very bizarre comments that this politician made. And then, of course, he claims that the female Doctor Who is why men go commit crimes. Yeah. So, like I say, I apologize. I apologize for the brain cells. I'd like to say I apologize for the brain cells that we are about to lose from viewing this comment, because this is how bad this comment really is.
Rather than continually vilified. Everywhere, not at least within the cultural sphere, there seems to be a call from a tiny, yet very vocal minority that every male character or good role model must have a female replacement. One only needs to look at the discussion surrounding who will play the next James Bond. And it's not just James Bond. In recent years, we have seen Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, Luke Skywalker, The Equaliser, all replaced by women.
Who cares? Literally, who cares? And by the way, Luke Skywalker was not replaced by a woman. Can we at least acknowledge that because when he said that, I was like, yeah, that's not true. You can have your problems with Rey by all the means, but the problems with Rey, the last of her problems that you could actually criticize her for was that she was a female character. I like the new trilogy because, again, as I said at the beginning, I like it when they tell new stories. And of course, there are problems. I will admit there are problems with the new Star Wars films, but one of the problems was definitely not that you had Rey Skywalker, or what started off as Rey, and then later became Rey Skywalker at the end of the series. It was like the least of the problems of the new Star Wars films, new trilogy. But again, what he's referring to is a very, very vocal, very toxic place from the internet where all this comes from. And like I say, who cares? Who really cares? Who really cares? Many of you may not remember this, but you go back to like 2015, and you would see these exact same type of people basically making this argument, saying that if you want to see this new diverse media that you claim you want. Go and make it. We don't care. Go and make it. Go make these stories, you know, just don't influence our stories. So what has happened over the recent years, you have seen more creators become more diverse, make more of these settings more diverse, have more, like, you know, women involved, people of color, even disabled people have becoming more, again, I'd definitely like to see, shall we say, more disabled people on TV, because honestly, their roles are on TV in general are very, very limited. But again, it's all about, you know, that initial story and that telling of those stories, and there isn't these people who were at the time saying, oh, you know, go create those stories, you know, we won't, you know, care, right? Well, it turns out they do care. Turns out that they do care massively care, for no reason whatsoever other than that this character is now you know, now male. And bear in mind, this goes back years. I mean, if you go all the way back to like the original like comic book days, like back in the 40s, you had the great scare back in the 40s. I can't remember the guy who like published a book, but he published a book basically saying how like comic books were like secretly coding for like, you know, gay relationships. Like Batman and Robin were in like a secret gay relationship at the time. So in response to that, they actually made like Batwoman and Bat-Girl, because even though there is a Batgirl today, it is not that same Batgirl. There's a hyphen in the middle. It apparently changes all the character, what you're talking about, completely. So, and it's not only just Batman that had you know, female characters put in. Superman had Supergirl put in at that same time as well. There are others, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. But so this has been going on for years, and it is only very recently that this has suddenly become a problem. As I said before, this is to be honest, it's pointless culture war nonsense. You know, I really don't like to cover it on my channel because I don't think it's not a very good productive conversation to have in politics, to be honest. And again, this is what we cover on politics, but unfortunately, quite frankly, the comments of this MP saying this stuff and bringing it into the Parliament deserve to be mocked and chastised so that people realize how stupid these comments really are. Yeah, Retrofly, which of the Robins are we talking about? Yeah. Because obviously you've got let's test my Batman knowledge now. You have, of course, the original Robin, Dick Grayson. You then had Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and you've now got Damian Wayne, technically the first son of Batman. I believe he's now in the role. But like I say, again, I would love to read like modern comics, but modern comics frustrate me in a way that other media doesn't. Because I'm a big fan of 2000 AD. Probably one of the best, I think, comics out there. Not only is it a fantastic anthology, you get Judge Dredd, you get a ton of other different stories that you can read. It's a fantastic series. Riot, who published the book, are very, very supportive of getting new talent in, new creatives, which is again fantastic for the industry. Pardon me. But I also think overall, it's a fantastic book. Go if you want to get into sort of comics, that's definitely where I'd make a splash. It can be hard to get into sometimes because this is a continuing anthology book. So sometimes if you went out and like picked it up next Wednesday, you might be literally picking up halfway through like a couple of stories, and you might get lucky sometimes. But if you do want to get into 2000 AD, then I'd follow their Twitter, look on their webpage, and I think in fact, no, very recently you've just missed a very good jumping on point, because they do have every so often like, these are when the new stories are starting, so start today. But if you do want to just jump into 2000 AD, that's what I did. I started watching 2000 AD, reading 2000 AD. I happened to go past my local post office. I saw it was there. I picked it up and then just kept on picking them up. And eventually, you catch up, you get into it. So modern, especially modern comic books, the writers have such a short tenure, and all the books are written so that someone else can pick them up. So if there was a really good writer who was writing a really good story that you enjoyed, about 6 months after, maybe, or a year after, another writer comes in and decides to do things his own way. And it sort of annoys me that very often you get these writers who are often doing a good job, telling good stories, and then they just get taken off the book, pushed into something else, and then someone takes over. And then, of course, quality can sometimes vary depending on when they start out, and then they'll, maybe take off. And then, like I say, I haven't read comic books for ages either. I used to be an avid, forgotten its name now. Used to be an avid Green Lantern reader, so I was reading back when Blackest Night was going on, Brightest Day. I saw the Rebirth. I saw the whole like Spectrum Wars of all the different, Red Lantern Corps come in. I saw, the Sinestro Corps come in, the Orange Lantern, the Violet Lanterns. Massive comic book lore there going on. But yeah, I very much enjoyed it. But of course, the new 52 happened. And of course, less said about that, the better. But I think that killed sort of my enjoyment into it, because they killed Demon Knights. And I really enjoyed Demon Knights. I thought that was a fantastic book. But there we go. Anyway, back to this, because I've gotten off on a massive tangent now. But that's what happens when you talk about this stuff. Because I'd rather talk about that than this nonsense culture war stuff. But this is where this is what this MP seems to want to bring in. And of course, he's yet to make his stupidest comment about why this might turn men to committing crimes. So let's continue with the rest of this, shall we?
And men are left with the Krays and Tommy Shelby. Is there any wonder we are seeing so many young men committing crime? These programs make crime look cool. Trust me, a lifetime in prison is not cool, and neither is living with the memory of a stabbed son or daughter.
So essentially, Peaky Blinders and the Krays. I don't know what the Krays is. I have no idea what he's referring to when he says the Krays. Hence the quotation marks. So apparently, Peaky Blinders is to blame for men committing crimes. So yeah. So you've heard it here today. You've heard my announcement. Look forward to later on when my army of cardboard Cybermen go forward and we steal Big Ben for some nefarious purpose to, I don't know, maybe we'll make some, I don't know, sound wave from it, or maybe we'll convert the bell of Big Ben so that when it rings, it releases a giant mind control wave from its bonging, so then we can then control the people of the UK. Yes, my evil, ridiculous, Satyricus plan is 1/4 complete. That's a Venture Brothers reference for you there. So, overall, this has been ridiculous. This has just been absolutely well and truly a ridiculous stage, and quite rightly, he's been well ripped into, and I felt myself that I wanted to rip into this again as well, because again, it deserves it. It deserves ridicule. To be honest, it deserves complete ridicule when it comes down to it, because hopefully then these people may realize, well, actually, this was a stupid thing for me to do. I'll just secretly drop it. So hopefully I've got through to people just how ridiculous this is. Like I say, thank you again, one and all, for joining me on this, like I say, indoor good morning walk. Again, pardon me, the weather pretty much conspired against me today, but hopefully, fingers crossed, fingers indeed crossed, we will be able to get out next weekend, and we'll be able to, see the ponies and all that good stuff that we normally do, of course, on the Good Morning Walk. So, as always, thank you very much for joining me. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you everyone for joining me on this, like I say, this fantastic, somewhat different good morning walk today. Obviously, like I say, the weather has conspired against us today, but of course, that's what happens sometimes. So yes, go out, have an absolutely fantastic weekend, everyone. I'm going to be playing some Hearts of Iron 4 because I need to learn the new meta, because not only have I got railway infrastructure to build now, I've got railway guns to compete and contend with, but also the new tank designer that has been dropped into the game. So I've now got to design tanks, which is always good. But as always, like I say, have an absolutely fantastic weekend, everyone. Go out, enjoy yourselves. And as always, if you can't be safe, be sensible, and have a fantastic weekend. And of course, we will see you next weekend on the Good Morning Walk, where we'll hopefully be out in the great outdoors of course, lovely Yorkshire. So, as always, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you all next weekend.